You know when you're reading a fascinating historical account and you just wish you could reach into the page and ask, what if? What if you could take a simple document, like an article, and bring it to life as a dynamic, interactive battlefield? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into today. So, let's set the scene. June 1944, the Pacific Ocean. The Battle of the Philippine Sea was an absolutely monumental clash, the biggest carrier-to-carrier battle ever, a truly pivotal moment in the Second World War. The result, as you probably know, was a completely lopsided American victory, so much so that they nicknamed it the Great Mariana's Turkey Shoot. But was that a foregone conclusion? Was there any single thing that, if you changed it, could have totally altered the course of history? To figure that out, we'd usually turn to something like a Wikipedia article, right? And they're packed with incredible details, numbers, and stories. But here's the problem. They're basically just a static photograph. It tells you what happened, but it can't really show you why. And this gets to the heart of the issue, this idea of a story trapped in amber. All that rich information in our historical accounts is essentially frozen. You can look at it, you can admire it, but you can't interact with it. You can't question it. So you can read that, hundreds of planes were lost, or that submarines sank these key carriers, but you can't ask that document, hey, what if those subs just weren't there? You can see all the numbers, but you can't tweak the variables. But what if you could? So how do we unlock that narrative? How do we break this story free from its static prison? Well, that brings us to some seriously cool technology that makes it all possible. This is where a company called DBun, founded by Yuri Cartoon, enters the picture. They've built this incredible tech that does something that sounds like science fiction. It computationally reads a document, like that exact Wikipedia article, and automatically turns it into a living, breathing, interactive simulator. So how on earth does that work? Well, at its core, the system's algorithms read through the text and identify every single key number and fact. Let's take a real example. The source document says American radar spotted the first Japanese raid at 150 nautical miles. Now, in the original text, that's just a fact. It's a fixed number sitting on a page. But the DBun technology pulls that number out and turns it from a static fact into a live variable. It's not just 150 anymore. It's now a slider a defense analyst can play with. What if enemy radar tech improves? Or what if it gets worse? Now you can actually find out. And once you can turn every number into a variable like that, well, you've just built yourself a powerful what-if machine, one that lets us explore all those alternate histories we were just talking about. All of a sudden, we're not just reading history, we're exploring it. A modern commander can test the very assumptions and debates that historians have argued about for decades, and they can generate new data to see what was truly the decisive factor. All right, so let's ask a big one. History tells us that by 1944, Japan's veteran pilots were mostly gone, while the American pilots were really well trained. But was that truly the most important factor? Let's find out. The simulator gives us the scatter plot, and the answer is pretty clear. Along the bottom, you got Japanese pilot experience going from low to high, and on the side, you have their loss ratio. The trend is just undeniable. As pilot experience goes up, their losses plummet. So yeah, pilot skill was a massive factor. But in battle, it's rarely just one thing, is it? The Americans were hiding an ace up their sleeve, the VT proximity fuse. This was basically a tiny radar in the nose of an anti-aircraft shell that let it explode when it got near a plane, not just on a direct hit. How much did that tech contribute to the turkey shoot? So which was it? The pilots or the tech? This heat map gives us the answer. Let's break it down. On the bottom again is Japanese pilot experience. On the side, we have the effectiveness of that American fuse. The dark red areas show high survival rates for Japanese planes. Okay, now, find the white star. That's the spot where history actually happened. Low pilot skill and a highly effective fuse. And the result? The color is almost black. That means near zero survival for the attacking aircraft. So the simulator makes it crystal clear. It wasn't just the inexperienced pilots, and it wasn't just the advanced technology. It was the absolutely devastating combination of both of those things happening at the exact same time that led to such a one-sided slaughter. Okay, let's zoom out. This technology is amazing for understanding history, but it's really a tool for understanding any complex system by letting you isolate the variables. The power to isolate one single variable, whether it's pilot skill or a new piece of tech or even just where your submarines are, and then run the battle over and over again, that's a complete game changer. For a military planner, you're moving from educated guesses to hard, quantitative data about cause and effect. And that's really the key, isn't it? Turning that insight into a real advantage. That's where this technology becomes so powerful, not just for historians, but for people making critical decisions today. So who's this for? Well, the applications are incredibly broad. You've got organizations like DARPA and other defense analysts who can now model how effective a new weapon system might be before they even build it. Military historians and wargamers can test out their theories. Heck, even financial analysts could use this to model how the market might react to an earnings report. And of course, in universities, instructors and students can engage with history in a way they never could before. This quote from the source material just sums it all up perfectly. This tech lets you go beyond narration into causal analysis. You're not just a passive reader anymore. You become an active investigator. When you boil it all down, the difference is this. A traditional document is like a static photograph. It captures a single moment in time perfectly. But the simulator, that's like a dynamic hologram. You can walk around it, look at it from every angle, and actually poke and prod it to understand not just what happened, but why it happened. And that leaves us with a really fascinating thought. This was applied to a World War II battle, but you could use it on a financial report, a scientific paper, a policy proposal, anything. So the final question is, if you could turn any document into a living, explorable world, what would you choose to understand first?